Well, 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 look who's got their hands on the new MSI Claw handheld with Intel inside. Let's get into it. I'm Blaze2K. Let's analyze Dave2D's video and, yeah, give you my first impressions of this bad boy. Is it worth picking up? When's it coming out? And how much is it going to cost? Let's get into it. I'm Blaze2K. Hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon. Let's go.
Let's go.
Before we get into it, go check out pixelbuys.com. Do yourself a favor, click the subscribe, put your email in, get some cool emails in your inbox. We just did a rundown of the MSI Claw, talking about the release date, the price, and just basically everything you need to know about the MSI Claw. And we're going to be updating you guys as we find out more. So let's get subscribed to Pixel Buys. Go do it now. Don't let yourself down. If you love geek, gift guides, gaming news, tech news, all that sort of stuff, go check it out. Also, if you have a Steam Deck and you want some new Steam Deck accessories, we have everything for you, everything covered on this Amazon list of my favorite Steam Deck accessories. If you have a Steam Deck, that is. Go check the links down below in the video description and top pinned comment for Pixel Buys and this cool Amazon list of Steam Deck accessories. So why is it these companies never send me a handheld? Don't you trust me, guys, to give you my first impressions or have it be at least a good video? But anyways, Dave2D got his hands on the new MSI Claw. Obviously, it's getting announced at CES. And as you can tell, it looks very similar to the freaking ROG Ally. It's almost as if MSI and Asus are the same company, right? I mean, look at this. The comparison is striking how similar it is. The little edges at the bottom, the slants, the buttons next to the screen. It's unreal how much this looks like the Asus ROG Ally. But don't be fooled, there are some differences. One of the big differences being one's Intel powered, the MSI Claw, and one's AMD powered, the ROG Ally. And if you ask me, I think I'd have to say I'd probably go for AMD, frankly, over Intel, because Intel haven't really proved themselves. They've never been really power efficient, to put it lightly, but they have changed up their architecture yet to be better at lower TDPs and run more efficiently. So time will tell until we get more benchmarks to see more graphics drivers. They've never really been big in graphics either, so we'll have to see. So here's the side comparison here. Obviously, it looks like the MSI Claw is slightly taller on the bottom. Now, Dave2D notes that the grips in the back are a little bit more comfortable than the Asus ROG Ally. And if you know me, I've obviously done my first impressions on the Ally. I don't no longer have an Ally anymore, I'm afraid. I would love to compare this in person, but the Ally was very pocketable. That's one thing I liked it had going for it. It was very small. You could technically fit it in your pocket if you have big enough pockets, which I kind of liked. But it never really gave you anything meaty to grab onto at the back with your palms. But some might like that. I didn't mind it too much. It did get a little bit, your hands did get a little bit cramped over time, but after playing with it long enough, you did get kind of used to it. Now, you notice that the grips in the back of the new MSI Claw are significantly better. So here he shows us the front and back design of the new MSI Claw. Obviously, you've got these little back triggers here, the little back buttons. He does note that they're a little bit easier to press than the ROG Allies. They don't stick out as much. They're not so much paddles. They're just buttons with odd polygon shapes. Different angles, obviously, to put pressure on. And obviously, you press it right at the back here or at the front here. And it seems to click down either way just fine. So pretty decent. Obviously, like we said about the ROG Ally, the MSI Claw seems to have more grippiness to the back. It gives you more to grab onto. There seems to be a lot of holes for ventilation here, which is always good. It looks like they're really focused on cooling this thing. So let's get on to the next one. So here's the dimensions. So it is indeed bigger than the Asus ROG Ally at 29.4 centimeters lengthwise, 11.7 centimeters tall, and 2.12 centimeters thick. It's about the same thickness, according to Dave2D, as the ROG Ally, but obviously it's a little bit taller and a little bit wider as well. And one thing that I really liked, and we'll get onto that in a second, is the fact that it has RGB buttons, so you can actually customize these in the software, I'd imagine. Obviously, you're not going to be able to customize them per button, but just having RGB buttons to illuminate the buttons in the back is pretty ingenious. It's something that I kind of wish the ROG Ally had, especially when you're playing at night and you just want to see your hands on the buttons and stuff and be able to customize this a little bit more. That is a nice touch. Obviously, it's also got the RGB rings around the thumbsticks, which is kind of cool, but that's a nice little touch there. RGB behind the buttons, and the buttons do look very similar to the ROG Allies. I wonder if they'll feel as good, because the ROG Ally buttons did feel pretty darn good. So it's running an Intel Core Ultra 7 155H, 16 cores, art graphics, 8 efficiency cores, XE cores, and obviously an NPU. So that's going to be really interesting. I'm curious to know how this, you know, competes with AMD. AMD have been the champions of basically power efficient small chips that can draw anywhere from like 5 watts up to 10 watts up to 15 up to 20 25 30. The AMD chips usually cap out around 30 watts, and you don't really want to go high. There's a point where you obviously get to the TDP range where no matter how high you crank it up, the performance doesn't really go up with the TDP. So I think 30 watts is around perfect. The most I would recommend pushing through an AMD chip. Whereas this thing, let's find out. This thing has a bunch of different power modes here. We've got super battery. This thing actually starts off at 15 watts minimum. All right, or let's compare that to the 7084U or the Z1 Extreme. Can go down to, I believe, as low as 9 watts or 10 watts, I believe. Whereas this starts off at 15 watts. So obviously there's a big gap here. The Intel, no surprise, isn't as power efficient. So 15 watts, then I believe balance gives you about 30 watts, I believe, or 20 to 30 watts. And then the extreme performance mode, get this, goes up to 45 watts. So you can enjoy your 45 watts of power for about 20 minutes, for as long as the battery lasts. So that's pretty interesting. This goes up to 45 watts. Now, I'm excited to see the performance benchmark at 45 watts, but we might be at the point of diminishing returns after 30 if it's anything like the AMD, right? So that's very interesting. So here we have the benchmarks. So obviously he's running Death Stranding here, and the benchmarks actually aren't too bad. They are pretty in line with the ROG Ally. So he's got Death Stranding here running at very high at 720p on MSI Claw at 30 watts, not 25 like the Ally. He's getting 57 FPS. Obviously the Ally at 25 watts getting 54. Cyberpunk 2077, 35 watts at 35 FPS at 30 watts, 33 at 25 on the Ally, Forza 5 at high graphics settings, 61 FPS at 30 watts on the Claw, 63 at 25 watts on the Ally, Miles Morales high settings, 48 FPS at 30 watts on the MSI Claw, and 44 FPS at 25 watts on the Ally. So we're not looking at really game-changing performance upgrades here over the AMD. We're looking at a pretty relatively similar performance here, perhaps at a higher power draw. That's not a surprise. AMD's always been more power efficient than Intel, but that is very interesting. So this is not like a generational leap over what AMD already have out. So I don't know if this is going to be a compelling purchase decision for most people. All right, I think AMD still has the better offering across the board in terms of different devices. I feel like Intel just shoveled a bunch of money into MSI's lap and been like, we want to be in this handheld gaming PC market too. Take this money. We'll sell these chips to you for cheap. We just want to be in this market, and we want to build our chips for this market, because obviously AMD's just eating everybody's lunch when it comes to the handheld gaming market right now. Obviously, just everything: Steam Deck, ROG Ally, Legion Go, the Ioneo devices, the GPD devices. AMD is powering them all. So obviously Intel wants a piece of that pie. Apologies guys, I just went into a coughing fit. I'm still sick over the Christmas holidays, so I'm still sick. I'm still getting over it. I'm not sure if I recorded this bit or not, but basically the cooler boost has a cooler boost function where it ramps up the fans, and it does get extremely loud, he did note. And he says his pre-production model, even at 45 watts, never needed the cooler boost function, but the retail units might be different. Hopefully the retail units don't get hotter than the pre-productions, because that would be a little bit of a fail. Well, obviously, as they ramp up production, we never know. As we know, the ROG Ally had a lot of QA quality issues when it first launched. Hopefully MSI does better than the MSI does better than Asus with the ROG Ally, because as you know, I actually had to return my first ROG Ally because the sticks were both clicking when I moved them in a circular motion, which was a bummer. So hopefully the quality, let me know in the comments, how has your experience been with MSI products? Have you had an MSI gaming laptop? Have you had MSI devices in general, gaming devices? How's your quality like? Because I've had a Asus gaming laptop, the G14. I had to return that like 7 times because there was like a new issue with it every single time. The ROG Ally, had to return that twice, and there's been people, I mean once, but there's been people on Reddit obviously that have had to return their ROG Ally like 5 times because they just can't get a device that works, you know, as it should. Whether it be stick issues, the shoulder buttons sticking, all that. Asus has never been good at quality control. So hopefully MSI doesn't follow in their footsteps. They've copied their design. Hopefully they don't copy their design flaws, right? So it is going to have a 7-inch screen, 120Hz VRR support. So it's going to be as smooth and buttery as the ROG Ally. That's one thing the ROG Ally really excelled at, was its screen, how smooth it was. Even when the FPS was jumping up and down between 15 FPS to 20 to 30 to 60, in, up and down in between, you never really got much stuttering. It didn't feel like you know, the frame rate was fluctuating as much as it was, and that's thanks to VRR. It just smooths everything out, and it just feels like butter when you're playing games. And that's one thing I miss about the Ally, to be honest with you. So there you go, guys. If you haven't subscribed to Dave2D, go subscribe to him. His tech videos are the best. He's always one of the first on the scene to post new, you know, reviews, first impressions and stuff like that. And he's very thorough and he's very honest. Now, a lot of YouTubers will, you know, they'll sugarcoat things for you to make you think something's better than it is, right? There's been a bunch of times where I've bought a product based on a YouTuber's review. They think it's the best thing since sliced bread, and you get your hands on it and you're like, why didn't they mention this? Why didn't they mention that? There's an issue with this. Oh, it just doesn't feel great. Dave2D always gives it to you straight. You know, whether he gets the product for free or not, he's always honest, and that's what I've got to give him credit for. He's a brilliant YouTuber. I've been following him for years, and I recommend you subscribe to him too if you haven't already, because he does love his handheld game PCs just like me and like us. So this goes courtesy of IGN. Here it is. Here's all the images of it. I love the red buttons on this bad boy. Look at that. The red button, I'm definitely illuminating the buttons red if I ever get one of these. I probably won't get one because it's Intel powered, no offense. Let me know in the comments if you're interested. Now, it does seem to have on the top here, let's take a look here. Let's try and zoom into this, see if we can zoom in. Okay, no. Open, can't open it in the tab. All right, let's just assume. So we're looking at, we've got a micro SD slot up there. Hopefully it doesn't overheat like the ROG Allies. We've got hopefully that is a USB-C 4.0 port. So one thing that hopefully this thing does have and does support is Thunderbolt 4 or USB-C 4's eGPU support. So hopefully we could plug in our own eGPU enclosure with this bad boy, unlike the ROG Ally, which they peered their own stupid proprietary, you know, eGPU connector in with that and forced you with like regular USB-C 3.1 on the USB-C port. Hopefully that's USB-C 4 or Thunderbolt. That would be a dream. We've got the headphone jack and we've got the volume buttons obviously up here. To move along on the bottom, oh, that's a bummer. We're not going to get a second USB-C port. One thing that I really liked about certain certain handhelds on the market is the fact that some have more than one USB-C. Look at the Legion Go, for example. It's got two. It's got two USB-C ports. So you can have one connected to like an external SSD and then have one for charging, or you can have one for like a docking station or something like that, or extra battery, and then one for connecting it up to a monitor. It's like, just there's so many options when you've got two USB-C ports. I wish they had two on this, but they followed Asus's path and just stuck with the one. So disappointed. Looks pretty sleek though. Looks, design-wise, looks very similar to the Ally. Also, unfortunately, it doesn't have 32 gigabytes of RAM. We thought it was going to have 32 gigs of RAM. There might be a new model that might be announced, but as of now, 16 gigs of LP DDR5, 675 grams. It can go up to 1 terabyte of storage, probably by default, right, when you buy it brand new, but hopefully we can upgrade that on the inside. It's got a 53 watt-hour battery life, so the MSI touts the clock and deliver users an impressive 2-hour battery life under full workload conditions. So I'm assuming that's 45 watts. 45 watts You know, running an intensive game, they're expecting about 2 hours battery life, which is pretty impressive. So yeah, they're targeting the first half of 2024 as far as the release date, and I'm going to guess the pricing is probably going to be around anywhere between $499 and $699. I really hope they don't go to $699 because that's Legion Go territory, and the Legion Go, as you know, has a lot more going for it than this. A lot more. And then obviously the Steam Deck OLED and stuff like that. It's a really hot market right now. I don't know where this fits in, frankly. I really hope they go for the lower end price point because that's the only way I see this being a success. Because frankly, I still think I prefer the ROG Ally just purely because it's AMD, very power efficient, gives you a lower range, well, a lower range of TDP for more battery efficiency. The Legion Go obviously has a bigger screen. It has 2 USB-C ports. It has the mouse function. It's also got, you know, it's just got a lot more going for it, frankly. And obviously the Steam Deck OLED. I'm not sure where this fits in. I think it's just Intel wanting to get in on the market, and I guess we'll see. Let me know in the comments if you think this is going to be a success or not. I'm very hesitant. I think it looks cool. Weirdly enough, the thing I think that's most cool about it is the fact that it's, you know, hopefully got USB-C 4.0 or Thunderbolt, and it's got RGB buttons. I think that's the coolest selling point for this thing right now. I'm not enthused by the fact that it's running Intel, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes, and we'll see the benchmarks, hopefully, very soon. And I'll keep you up to date. And if you want to be up to date on handheld gaming tech and all that good stuff, and geeky stuff in general, please consider clicking the like, subscribe, clicking the bell icon down below. Also, like I says, go check out Pixel Buys for the rundown on all the stuff you want to know about. Buying guides, geeky tech guides, health and wellness stuff as well, because we all want to keep healthy, right? And I like simple, healthy stuff that's just easy, like the Seed Probiotic. I'm always talking about that. Bulletproof coffee. I always have a cup in the morning. It's the best coffee out there. Like, I tell you about all the cool tech and all the goodies out there to buy. Go check that out. And if you have a Steam Deck OLED, which I think you might do, go check out my list of Amazon accessories on Amazon. I think you'll find something you like on there. All the links you need are down below in the video description. Come follow me on X at Blaze2KX on X. All the links down below. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care. I love you. I appreciate you. And I'll see you in the next one. I'm Blaze2K. Peace out.
Let's go.